Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Happy Thanksgiving. It's actually 4:32 a.m. for me because I just suddenly woke up and I figured, you know what? Let's crank out a Velocity Banking video on Thanksgiving. And what's the title of this video? It's Be Debt Free, Eat More Turkeys, right? So you'll see that you have a turkey icon here for or emoji for every single debt that we're going to pay off. And so how many turkeys? Oh, this one's not a debt. How many turkeys do we have? One, two, three, four, 12. If we count them all, yeah, 12 turkeys. And it'll be, you know how people are complaining that they're broke at the supermarket, right? And the reason that they're broke, or one of the reasons, not always, is they got too much debt, right? And so if you're making good money, and you always have to associate having a lot of debt with making good money, right? Because one of the things that people don't understand about banking is that there's no reason to put, let's say, a poor person in a lot of debt, just like kind of how a bank doesn't ever want to really take your house, if that makes sense, right? Like they always try to put the fear of God into you that if you don't pay your debt, they're going to take away something, if you know what I mean. But the reason why they do that is so that they keep getting what they really want, which is a stream of payments over time. So poor people cannot provide a stream of payments over time, which is why like the best you'll do is probably a $500 to $5,000 credit card. But as you make more money, you become a target for banks and debt and creditors, right? And so that's what we're talking about today: velocity banking, paying off debt on Thanksgiving. So what is velocity banking? It's a debt payoff strategy where you throw all of your money into debt using something called a line of credit. And so here we have what we call the average American banking style of budget, which is you have your income, expenses, and then you have your leftover checking and savings. And then you have your expense breakdown right here, right, which is 10 credit cards, an auto loan, a mortgage. And then here we have our personal expenses, okay, personal expenses for $3,000 a month, meaning that we always have to pay this 3,000, okay? And what we're going to do in velocity banking is take that same income, right, and the same expenses and see how if we can, let's say, reshape that flow of money so that we don't feel so desperate anymore. So if you take a look at this, right, and you made about 9,000 a month, 9,600 a month after tax, and you only had $1 left over, probably would be the end of the world for you. Or you'd probably feel like you're sweating balls. In fact, I remember a while back I got an email where someone was making like 7,500 in Ohio, and had $1,000 left over, and that guy was sweating balls. You know what I mean? So, if the more money you make and the less you have here in this checking and savings, it's gonna feel like bad times, or you're gonna feel very nervous. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we become confident in our ability to manage finances and pay off debt. So here's the first step to velocity banking. The very first step after you've created your budget. So budget's easy: income, expenses. You do your expense breakdown, and what's important is in that expense breakdown, you list every single debt that you have as a line item, and then your last item, which is your expenses, you leave down here, right? So everything you got to pay for. And then so here, the checking and savings is going to be zero, and that's kind of like the first step to differentiate yourself from velocity banking and average American banking. So you take a look here, okay? You take a look here. This is how this is screenshot my checking account. This is how this looks like. Money comes in, and then it just goes right out. Money comes in, right? This is $0, and it just goes right out. Okay. So the whole point I want to show is that the difference between here and here is that, do you store money in your checking account at the end of the month, right? So the way that the average American is trained with their checking and savings is that, after you pay all of your bills, including your debts, you should have some checking and savings. Whereas the velocity banking, we treat our checking and savings as the middleman, right? We don't treat it as the final destination of our money. We treat it as the middleman. And what we're going to do okay, is focused on a number called cash flow. So cash flow and checking and savings are completely uh, uh, well, they could be related if you think about it in the average banking sense, but here we have these as two separate line items just to show that this should always be zero, and then this is a number we can easily increase if we know how to consolidate our debts and pay them off quickly, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to assume we have access to something called a line of credit. So what's a line of credit? Well, basically it's a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay it back, and use it over and over again. So this is my home equity line of credit of $373,500, right? So basically, if you click a button on the bank's website, like transfer funds, they'll just dump that money into your checking account and then charge you an 8% interest rate. Okay, so yeah, that's my little buddy Thanos over there. One day maybe I'll get $1 million line of credit. $1 million line of credit. And by the way, one thing, two things I always forget to, I need to mention. So, what is the first thing? Well, number one is that I paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months in the year 2024. Okay. And the other thing too is that I have over $739,000 in lines of credit and credit cards. And a credit card is technically form of a line of credit. $739,000. So, it's something I got to mention. I haven't mentioned that a lot in the previous videos, maybe because I'm sick of it. And if you take a look at the screenshot, paid it off in 2024. We're almost at 2026, folks. So, kind of feels weird to be in such a position like that, but that's where we are. That's where we are. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to assume we have a $200,000 line of credit. And actually, here's the thing. If you have $1 left over, it's not like you're going to get a free and clear line of credit that the bank will allow you to use. And why is that? It's because you probably don't know the secret unless you've been listening to this channel for a while, which is that banks don't lend money to people who need it. Mhm. Banks don't lend money to people who need it. That's like the ultimate secret of banking. They don't lend money to people who need it. I don't know why I'm laughing, but that's how I have over $739,000 in lines of credit. So good to know. All right, so now here's what we're going to do is that we're going to take a look here and we're going to move some of our debt into this thing called a line of credit and increase this cash flow number. Now, realistically, like I said before, you're not going to get a free and clear line of credit if you have $1 left over, right? But the whole point is what if you did? What if you learn how to do things right from the beginning? You probably never even be here, right? Probably. Okay, so what we're going to do is put our entire paycheck into the line, take our expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. And so that's kind of like the final step, but let's go ahead and move some debt first. And so we have this formula called the cash flow index, which is just the statement balance divided by the payment. And then what you do is you just kind of take these numbers here. Oopsie, I forgot to take the cash flow index of this one. So statement balance divided by the payment, 718.75. And then as you can see right here, we have the cash flow index. And so this is kind of like a ranking system or the order of which you pay off the debt. Right, this is the order of which you pay off the debt. And then what we're going to do is move some of that into the line of credit, okay? And we're going to take the lowest ranking number. So what does this high ranking number mean? Basically means you get little bang for your buck in terms of cash flow. Pay someone $200,000 to get $843 a month back in your life, or you get 35,000 and you get over $1,000 back in your life, right? So which you pay this one off you first. So that's basically what this means. So let's go ahead and figure out. Sorry, gotta eliminate the turkeys for now. How much debt this is? 5, 8, 15, 27, 37, 10, 35, 12, 15. I'm going to sum it up. And then this is $164,000, so 164,000. And then, okay, so guess what happens when we just move these credit cards into the line of credit? Oh my goodness. You know, these all go to zero, right? And then look at that. How do we, what? $1 into 5,000. Must be alchemy. Velocity banking alchemy. So we did that, and then the final step is now we're just going to dump our entire paycheck into the line of credit, essentially a $9,600 overpayment, take our expenses out, and then our balance should go down by about 5,000 every single month. So let's go ahead and do this. And the math is relatively simple. I2 plus 1. Oopsie. I2 plus 1. Next, G2 plus H2 minus 511.83 minus, oh shit, whoopsie, my bad. So what you do is take the previous month's balance interest minus the cash flow, and then they'll give you the next month's balance, and then you want to calculate the interest, take the average daily balance, multiply it by the interest rate, and then divide by 12. And then that'll be the interest for the month. Whoopsie, where am I going? Oh no. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. And then we see that in month 37, it's pretty much paid off, right? Month 37. 37 months. And then this is going to be, what was it? 164K. 164K. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this, right? And then we have the auto loan mortgage, right? So this is going to be 37 months. So this is the current balance. So this is a loan calculator, and you see the current balance here. We use the cash flow index, and then I'm going to go ahead and move this into the line. All right, so let's go ahead and do copy and paste. I'm going to move this right here, so this is going to be plus 16045.43. And then by moving that car loan into the line of credit, right, 40,000, this is now an extra 700 in our cash flow. So now it's 5,800. So let's go ahead and update this, Control V, and do this. So minus 5,830.58. Okay. And then we see that now the car has been paid off in 2 more months. So 39 months, the car has been paid off. And, so I'll do this right now. So 39 months. And then that'll be 204K. And then right here is the mortgage, right? So the mortgage at 200,000. 200,000. And what's the current balance of the mortgage at 39 months? It's put 39 here. And then we see that this is the current balance, 185,959.04. So let me put that here, 185,909. Is it 909? 959. 959.04. Okay, and then let me just kind of do the income and expenses. So what's the income right here? 9673.79, 9673.79, and then the living expenses is everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off, which is 3,000. So what are we doing here? Basically, we're showing that, hey, even though this is a 3% loan, you can still use an 8% line of credit to help pay it off, right? A lot of people get freaked out about 8, 30. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is the order of the debt that you pay off, right? So one thing you can do is just put the extra, this as an extra payment, or you could still use a line of credit, right? But a lot of people freak out about 8, 30%. Oh my goodness, why would I do that? And that's a good question, because if you use, let's say, even a credit card to pay off your mortgage and do it in small chunks, what's probably going to happen is that they'll increase your credit limit. Like I remember this used to be a $10,000 credit card, and then one day I woke up and it was 17,500, right? So very, was it interesting? Interesting. All right, so let me go ahead and do this, and then so you see right here that let me just kind of do 10,000. See if it's probably not going to make a difference. Probably a little bit more. Let me see. Oh, it's probably a little bit less. Okay, so $10,000 chunk, which means you just move $10,000 from the loan to the line of credit. So what does this mean? Just show you right here. and then all I gotta do is just move $10,000, so plus 10000 into here, and look how quickly that $10,000 gets paid off, and then same rinse and repeat over and over again, right? So that's what chunking means. You just kind of do it over and over again. So here we have a little bit more accurate calculator here from Renatus, which is where I originally learned this stuff from. And then I just kind of showcase it. And hopefully I could sell this, but I'm a pretty bad salesman. Probably a better buyer, although I'm really not that sophisticated. All right, well, that's it here. So we have 2.5 years. So I'm just going to show here. And then this is 0. And then this is going to be 39 plus, divide by 12, plus 2.5. And this is 5.75 years. 5.75 years. And we are debt-free. Right? Right? So how many turkeys we got? Let me look for that turkey emoji one more time. Give me one moment. Okay, turkey emoji. And I'm going to copy and paste this. And then turkey emoji right here. And I'm going to do this. And we see that we have a lot of free turkeys to eat because we have all of our debt paid off. And look at that sweet, sweet $6,000 a month in cash flow that we have. And now we can save money. Now we can save money because all our debt's paid off, right? Easiest way to maximize returns without being a savvy investor is just make sure all your debt is paid off. Okay? That's the easiest way. You don't have to be too smart. But you see right here, for every debt that we pay off, we get an extra turkey. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. Crane Lanta Mentorship here with another video. I'm a pretty lazy guy, right? And so hopefully I'll get off my keister and create a new YouTube channel for rich people, and then maybe start actually selling this as a service on itself for rich people who are too busy. Because that's really what the difference between rich people and poor people is. Rich people value time, poor people value money. All right, well, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.